On today's Till We Make It, let's break open some rare and regionalized wrestling jargon. I'm Mike Quackenbush. This is Till We Make It, and today's topic is thanks to fellow journeyman Rip Impact up Canada Way. Thanks, Rip. This one's for you. Last week on this channel, I offered up a video to help get you prepared for the opportunity to work with wrestlers from Mexico or Japan. And this brought about a conversation about how wrestling jargon differs from region to region and made me also think about commonly used inside wrestling terminology, which is sometimes deployed incorrectly. So today I'm here to lay down the law on that rare and regionalized wrestling jargon, and I want to start with a term that is so dated I don't think I've actually heard anybody use it in over a decade. But if you happen to be one of the people that use this, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below and know a little of your experience when you call for Shakespeare. Shakespeare is a term I used to hear a lot in the 90s, and then less so in the 00s, and even less so in the whatever you call this decade. Shakespeare, as I understand it, is meant to refer to all the drama that happens in the match before the very first time the opponents touch each other. So in a sense, if there is stalling before the very first lockup, that could be considered Shakespeare. If a cowardly heel is constantly running away from a powerful babyface before they ever touch in the match, that too would be considered Shakespeare. Part of the reason I think the term Shakespeare has started to go away is because it has been folded into another term, and this one I hear mistaken a lot. I'm going to talk about it and the thing it is mistaken for, that is, gaga and ha-ha. To illustrate the difference between these two, I define them this way. Gaga is activity that is not wrestling moves. They're not physical mechanics, but are part of the performance. But gaga is not ha-ha. Ha-ha is comedy material specifically, and that contrasts against drama, which is why I think Shakespeare, to an extent, has been folded inside. Gaga might refer to certain types of shenanigans or antics, but if they trend toward being comedic, they're meant to break the dramatic tension of a match, then they're ha-ha, and gaga and ha-ha are not the same thing. A different term, which is more universal than ever before, and yet is called different things in different regions and also at different levels in pro wrestling, are shotgun, circuit, and waterfall. These are practically interchangeable terms. Shotgun, circuit, and waterfall all refer to the same type of rapid-fire spot where one thing happens after another, after another, after another, and the emphasis is not on the bump or the sell, but on the next thing coming. I have heard it referred to by all three of those terms. Originally, it was always called circuit. Later on, I heard it called waterfall, and most recently, shotgun is the way that is described. And depending on where you might be and with whom you're working, you could hear any one of those three terms. Another one of those common terms that varies by region is drop down, sleep, or plancha. Drop down, laying flat on the mat so that an opponent can cross over as you're running the ropes in what is essentially meant to be a failed attempt to trip them, is often referred to in the UK as sleep and is referred to by luchadors as plancha, flat as an ironing board. They are interchangeable. Drop down, sleep, and plancha all refer to the same thing, but based on where you are, might be called something different. Similarly universal and also with their own unique terms based on region are leapfrog, leap or vault, and brinca. Leapfrog, or vault as it used to be called in the UK, although sometimes just commonly called leap, especially in a pattern with sleep, leap, and brinca, leaping over, all refer to the exact same thing. Point of clarification, none of these are bunny hop. So you might be asking yourself, well, if bunny hop is not leapfrog, Mike, then what is bunny hop? And here's the difference between the two. On a leapfrog, the person jumping is relatively stationary. The other is running. However, in bunny hop, it is the runner who jumps over the stationary opponent. That's the difference between leapfrog and bunny hop. Another universal idea in professional wrestling that has different terminology based on where you are is an up and over in the corner. When you grab the top rope and push yourself away from that corner so that a runner can go underneath you. It is most commonly called up and over, but I have been other places in the Americas where it is referred to as water under the bridge. And our luchador friends will call this bandera. It's a reference to the idea of raising the flag, bandera. All of these mean up and over. I first started traveling back in the 90s, up and over had tons of other terms as well. So if you're somewhere and came up on a circuit where there is another phrase used to denote up and over, I would love to hear what it is. Please drop that in the comments section below. Let's specifically break down a concept from Lucha Libre, which has been appropriated other places. Sometimes I hear this called pass by or run by. The lucha terms are either toreo or bipaso. I have heard it called either one. I do tend to think that you hear toreo more toward the northern parts of Mexico and less so once you get south of Mexico City. Toreo or bipaso, literally bypass, and like toreador, toreo is a term derived from bullfighting. So if you're trying to wrap your brain around the technique I am talking about, think of it this way. Imagine an opponent is running directly at you off of the ropes, and you're going to step out of the lane so they can bypass you as you put one hand in the small of their back and accelerate them in a straight line. Then you get back into the lane. You have bypassed them, bipaso. Or toreo, like a bullfighter moving out of the way of the bull. In front of the bull, you're in danger. That's where the horns are. You want to place yourself behind the bull. So you get out of the lane as it's charging and then put yourself behind the bull. Toreo. And special thanks to the comments section for reminding me of this simple terminology change you've got to be aware of when working with Mexican luchadors. They do not call arm drags arm drags. If the arm drag does not have a specific name to it, it is best to refer to it as arm suplex. And while we happen to be on the topic of suplexes, you might be wondering, when you watch footage from Japan, why is it that the Japanese commentators call a snap suplex a brainbuster? Why is brainbuster deployed when here we would call something a vertical or snap suplex? Well, it has to do with what makes up the technical form of a suplex. If we want to get very specific about the details of a suplex, it has to accomplish two things. Number one, it has to expose our opponent's shoulder blades to the mat. And based on the forms of wrestling that all come before pro wrestling, that means it is done by controlling your opponent to the mat. They are not being thrown like a slam. The other criteria that defines a suplex in its technical sense is that there is a wrestler's back bridge involved, the arching of the lower back as you head toward the mat. So if you think about all the classical forms of suplexes, they're going to contain that back bridge as you control your opponent's shoulders and expose them to the mat. But a snap or vertical suplex, which throws an opponent, does not expose their shoulders with control and oftentimes doesn't feature that back bridge, which is why those detail-oriented Japanese commentators call it brainbuster. I suspect there may be another video of this type coming in the near future, and here's why. I would love to hear from you in the comments section below about other rare or maybe sometimes misunderstood or otherwise regionalized wrestling jargon you know that we can help understand in a universal sense to eliminate any possible confusion or errors in the ring while we're out there performing live. If you haven't yet, would you be sure to subscribe to this channel, like the video, turn on notifications, that way you know when we publish again. You keep on being awesome, and I will keep on making the videos, and together, we'll keep on faking it.